consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on tunein.com, ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and you know why? Because it's Life Mastery Radio Day, but there's another really good reason. It's because when I got up this morning, I decided before my feet hit the ground, it was going to be a groovy day. That's the way I start my day, and that's the way the day goes. Something else might come up, but I always think back and think to myself, I started out with a groovy day. I can turn this around. And we're going to be talking about that today with our guest. But before we get started, I like to get myself centered and situated and a little organized for some great content that Jackie and I are going to provide for you today. And I do that by thinking first about what it is that I connect to, what it is that I connect to, what is it that I plug into that gives me power, that gives me solace, or that gives me peace. What is it? It could be God, it could be Allah, it could be the dude, it could be the doorknob that leads you to the outside world. Whatever it is for you, think about that for a minute, and let's take in a deep breath. Focus on that power source and let that breath out with a big ah. Just let your essence flow up through your heart center, throat chakra, and right out of your speaker box, out into the universe. Ah. Let's do that one more time, but this time, think about your dreams, visions, and goals. What is it that you aspire to do, be, or have? We're getting close to a new year, so you might even think about what you want to bring into your life, your world, next year. Think about those things. Let's take in a deep breath. Focus on those dreams, visions, and goals, and then just let out another big ah. Let those dreams and visions and goals up through your heart center, throat chakra, out of your speaker box, out into the universe. And here's the really cool part. Allow the universe to make those come true for you, because that's how it works. Allow the universe to provide you with that opportunity. Now, the second part of that is you got to have your head up. You got to be bright and cheery, tail out from between your legs like a little puppy dog, and ready to accept those opportunities because they're coming your way if you do it that way. That's the way it works. Hi, Jackie. How are you today, my friend?
Hello. I am well. How are you? You had an exciting weekend.
I did. My middle daughter got married. Da, 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 da.
Congratulations.
It's very cool. I have 3 of them, and this is my middle one. And she has been with the same guy. She's just been a serial monogamist her entire life. I said that to her, and she's like, what does that even mean? I said, well, think about it. I mean, you've only been, that's since middle school. They've been together.
Wow.
I know.
They know each other really well. That's
totally. I think when she was, and she talked about this a little bit, but when she was in, I think, a freshman, he gave her a pillow with his picture on it. So we were reflecting on that memory. And of course, the seating arrangement put me right next to Kate, her mom. And her mom makes the comment under her breath to me, yeah, I walked into Chloe's room a couple of times and it scared me. But I remember that pillow because she would bring it to my house with her. And I let it go. I don't know. I kind of had, it was kind of different. Let's put it that way. and I wasn't too sure about it, but I just let it go, and it turned out, look, I mean, they're forever happy.
Yeah, now he's your son-in-law.
Yeah, he's been around so much, I don't know it any different, really. I mean, it's kind of cool. So that was my weekend. It was pretty cool, and we had a blast. It was a beautiful wedding, and you could just see great joy in her heart.
Yeah, that's great. Those are special days when your children finally make that leap into their own lives, and it's neat.
Pretty
Congratulations.
cool stuff. How's things going at the Speak Feed Lead project?
It's going. It's kind of clipping along a little slow. I've talked to other people who provide classes for youth as well, and we have similar stories that it's a little bit challenging right now. At least I know it's not me. At least I know I don't have bad breath or something.
Right. Especially on Zoom, that would be really bad.
That would be really bad. Yeah. So we're just being patient. I'm feeling like things are going to settle down a little bit once kids get back into a normal routine with school, maybe even after the holidays, and they'll be a little more relaxed and feel like they can add a little bit more to their plate. So we'll see. We'll just be patient till then.
Cool. Yeah, it's a changing time, and they're back in school now, and things are getting reorganized. And a lot of those kids, Jackie, is it true? I've heard a couple of things that they have, like, because it was so disorganized and kind of dysfunctional with the last year of trying to learn, that they have 2 years to make up. Is that kind of a correct way to look at that?
Well, that's what my students are telling me, that the teachers are saying to them, that they're saying, well, because you weren't in school last year, we have to make up for it. So they're piling work.
Wow.
They're piling homework onto them, which is unfair, if you ask me, because that does limit the child's energy to be able to do extracurricular things that also bring them joy. I mean, schoolwork doesn't typically bring them joy.
That makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, so that's the challenge that we're facing, as parents don't want to add more on.
You think they would have strategized the way to just meld it and make it, instead of cramming 2 different curriculums, 2 different years, and just meld it into one and get these kids advanced? So I don't.
Well, you think that you could offer some evening classes or summer school or something if kids are feeling behind, but a lot of these kids don't feel like they're behind.
Yeah.
They feel like they're behind socially, but they don't feel like they're behind academically. And I think the assumption that the schools are making is incorrect for everybody. Besides, it was the whole nation affected by it. It's not like it's just a couple of school districts here and there. So they need to cut the kids some slack and just let them resume where they were, and they'll make up for it. They'll make up for it over several years. They don't have to do it all in 6 months. So.
Yeah, everything's catching up to us now. But as we're going to find out from our guest today, these kinds of things, just have the ability to give us different choices and make us stronger and look at things a little different and reorganize our thoughts. So we're going to talk about that today. I want to remind the listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com, whichever one you prefer or whichever one comes out of your fingers. And you can find any links that we talk about with our guest today. There's links to her website, pictures of her book, and all things about that. While you're there, sign up for Jackie's newsletter. It's a simple little form. You can fill it out. Just give us your email. That's all we use that email for. That newsletter goes out once a week. It talks about who's been on the show, who's coming on the show. And of course, Jackie always writes a blog post about the show that we just did. And it has great insight, and it will entice you to actually, if you missed a show, to go back and listen to that show. We have yeah,
I hope so. And by the way, it's not my newsletter. It's our newsletter.
But you do all of the work. So
I do some of the work on that. Yeah, just for you. For all of our listeners, so that they know what's coming up. It's nice to know who's coming on.
And she's getting very popular in the blog world, because if you Google, Jackie's blogs, they just come right up. So it's pretty cool. Anything I missed? Both Jackie and I's book are there. You can follow the links. Here's mine: 6 Keys to Life Mastery. And there's Jackie, self-centered leadership. I think, Nahla, do you have a copy of your book?
I do.
Cue for Nahla to hold up her book while I introduce her. There it
we
is,
go.
Untamable.
Nice.
Our guest today is Dr. Nahla Bou-Diab. Did I say that right? Diab?
Yes, you did.
Bou-Diab. Nahla is considered an expert in building organizational resilience. She has earned her doctorate degree from the University of Liverpool for her research on spirituality. There's a reason that she's on the show today. Spirituality in the organization, which was recognized as an important contribution to both scholarly and practitioner knowledge. She is the head of Women Empowerment for the World Union of Arab Bankers. And in that capacity, Nahla broke new grounds by launching the first charter for gender diversity in the Arab world. That's a big deal. The charter was approved and formalized by WUAB Board of Directors and has been featured by OECD in their June 2020 publication. Nahla has been featured in the media on multiple occasions to share her experience on organizations, gender diversity, and managing change. And her book, we'll cue her up to hold it up again, Untamable. Claim your power, live fearlessly, and become unstoppable. Nahla, welcome to the show today. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor.
We are super excited, and I'm even more blown away because, just to let our listeners know, Nahla is coming to us from Lebanon. It's pretty cool. We have that's our global reach, right, Jackie?
That's right.
I think that's the furthest away we've ever had as a guest.
Possible. We've had some guests from the United Kingdom, but I don't know that we've had anyone from the Arab countries. So that's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Nahla, you wrote this book. You didn't intend on writing it for the world, but it is slowly catching up and becoming a global book. You have some news about its republication, but tell us why you wrote it.
I wrote it for my two sons, simply. After going through life, after experiencing life, I reached a place where I saw a consistent pattern that had relationships between my thoughts, my perspectives, the outcome of every event that I've experienced. And I had this aha moment. Figured it out. I know how it works. I want to teach my two boys how to do this. I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to try to go through hardship, just trying to figure out why we are here and what is their purpose. Just write it in the book. And I didn't want to be someone who's constantly preaching. So I thought I would write it in a book, have it ready for them. Whenever they feel they need it, they will actually reach out for it. That was the initial intent.
Wow. And the other thing that came to my mind is I don't think I've ever heard of somebody having a doctorate in spirituality. What kind of studies did that entail? I mean, did you look at spirituality on as a global viewpoint? And then
So this was a doctorate degree in the field of management. My thesis was an action research thesis in which I applied my research within the organization I manage. It was about enabling emotions of spirituality inside the organization. So I was able to provide evidence that if you do that, if you unleash the power of humans in the organization, you're going to outperform your expectations as a company.
And unleashing power has been a theme of your life, right? I mean, there's been times in your life when you have felt completely controlled by others, and you always had this desire to be, as you say in your book, untamed. So tell us a little bit about your life, Nahla, and fill us in on the details, because what I liked about your book was that your story was in the first chapter and you didn't break it up with lessons learned here and there. You told us your story, and then the lessons came later, and I really appreciate that. So it's a lot of years, but what would you like to tell our audience about your experiences?
Well, I've been so privileged and lucky to have a rich experience, whether growing up or so every possible hardship you can imagine came into my life. And, you know, and I always tell people, don't feel bad about that, because when you're sitting there trying to select a university, you usually go for the top universities, and those universities are usually have the most challenging programs. So my life has been a challenging program. I grew up, born in Lebanon, immigrated to Canada when I was a small child. I've experienced bullying, I've experienced rejection. I come from a family where my father was very conservative, and he had his own perspective on what women should do or should not do. I was not allowed to go to university. So I started working when I was 17 years old, which created a tremendous opportunity for me, because by the time I was 21, I was a national manager, endured harassment in the workplace, faced discrimination, faced illness, you name it, Jackie.
Yeah, I know. And it doesn't give at all justice to your story, because you're leaving out detail. I know for time, you can't possibly get into all those details, but when you say you were bullied, you were beaten by kids at school, and you lived in very troubling circumstances, not even having clean water at some times in your life, and not enough food to eat. So when you talk about these challenges, they were big deals, right? And any normal person, or any person that we might consider human would have given up, would have felt like my life isn't worth it. I'm not going to get ahead, because you would get ahead a little bit and then you get knocked down. Again, you know, your family moved to Canada, and just when you were starting to feel like that was home, they moved back to Lebanon, and happened a couple more times, right? And so you've had a really challenging life, and your book is about the lessons that you've learned that we can all relate to. So what do you want to say about the first thing that you feel like you've learned that our audience needs to hear today?
I believe that the most important thing people should notice is their perspective, because you can look at life as if you are a victim, or you can look at life as an opportunity, as a learning experience. And this perspective stems from how you see the world and and your own purpose of life. So if we believe that we are here on earth to eat, drink, have children, work, to pay for health insurance, and then die, then that's the wrong perspective.
Right.
That's the wrong perspective. And you will not allow yourself to get sucked in to a lifestyle that is aligned with that perspective. My perspective is that we are here to experience, to learn, to share, to love, to create, to love again, and to ignite passion all around us. And if that is your perspective, then you look at every situation, every experience in front of you from a different angle. Your objective is to learn so that you can evolve and share.
And what as you're talking to people or coaching them, what is the one thing that helps them get on that track, to get that turned around? Is it our thoughts? Is it emotions?
Our thoughts are our magical powers. And I don't think I'm the only person who says that. I think you know it, Jackie knows it, the world knows it. The challenge is in implementation. If we master our thoughts, we master our emotions, and we can keep ourselves in an elevated state of mind and an elevated state of feelings and emotions. When you're at that state, you have ignited your magical powers. It's that simple. The challenge is in adopting a lifestyle that enables you to be in this state. Because in our world, in our environment, everything is done to ensure you are never in that state.
Yeah.
You are distracted by negative noises every minute of your day. You're controlled by fear. People suffer from anxiety. They doubt themselves, and they feel lost, because all of us know that we're here for a purpose. So we're like little children lost in the woods, distracted by every event that happens. And it's time to stop and recognize that we are powerful, and no one can take this power away from us, because we have free will. Once we recognize that we become victims only by surrendering to someone else, we will stop surrendering, and we will learn how to be the masters of our lives.
What is it that they hold on? So we are human. And even though we know what you know, it's still easy for us to get off track and get that monkey mind going, and then we lose sight of that. So what are some of the tools that you teach people to get back that power, to get back in that power?
Well, in the book, the second part of the book basically presents those tools to my readers. It actually takes the readers through different exercises so that they can figure out what makes them happy, why they exist. And those exercises are really important because they trigger depth in terms of self-thought. The same way, when you decide to have a lean, powerful body, you have to adopt a lifestyle that helps you with that objective. The same way you do that, you have to do the same thing for your non-physical self. So in the book, I offer multiple steps and principles that I invite and I encourage people to adopt. And I assure you that people living that lifestyle can never, ever become victims. And so in the book, I present one big step, and it's called Connect, Trust, and Accept. And it stems from the recognition that we are not here alone, and we come from a source. We have a God, call it Jesus, call it Buddha, call it whatever you like. I'm referring to this big power that created us. It's there to help us and to guide us, but we're too busy, distracted by day-to-day life. And so that is the main step. I offer 5 principles that if the readers adopt them, they will always stay connected. So when you're connected and you see something that's scary or frightening, you're not going to be afraid because you have a different perspective. You're seeing it from a powerful place. And this is where people need to be, because this is why they're here. It's time to break out of this jail that we created for ourselves.
In between our ears.
We did it.
It's
Time
right
to break
there.
free. It's time to break free.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a second here, because someone who is living in severe poverty, or someone who is living in an abusive situation, or someone who's living with a chronic disease, perhaps even a terminal illness, this is reality. And they would say, changing my mind isn't going to change the situation, right? Changing my mind is not going to heal my terminal illness. Changing my mind isn't going to get me out of poverty. Or is it, Nahla?
I would say it might just will, because it did for me. I'm not someone who has had an easy life, and I'm not being theoretical. What I did, I've been through all of these things that you have just talked about. I'm not someone who's had, a life free from illness, free from abuse, free from harassment. No. I went through it all. And I can tell you that your main critical success factor is, what are you surrendering to? So, for example, in one particular episode in my book, I talk about workplace harassment. I was a 17-year-old, innocent, pure girl, forced to work to support her family. And I'm harassed by my boss. I had two choices: succumb to his harassment, which did not even cross my mind, or keep my thoughts calm, master my thoughts, and don't allow him into my thoughts. And that's what I did. How did I do this? I simply sat there and ignored him and just tried to connect every moment of my day with this greater power. And if you read the book and you look at that particular incident, the result was no less than a miracle. So yes, no matter how hard the circumstances are, you can turn them around with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your focus, and more importantly, by reaching out to this amazing power that is there for us to use, but we're not using it.
Yeah, I used to think about these. You talk about that power, and what helped me anchor that thought was, you know what a Kirby vacuum cleaner is?
Yes, we
Those
actually
big-
had one. My family had one in Canada, yes.
So it's like when that thing's plugged in, it's a breeze. It's self-powered and it pretty much just vacuums itself. But if you get far enough away from the wall and it becomes unplugged, then it's heavy and cumbersome and you can't steer it or drive it at all. I created that thought way back when, I don't, probably 15, 20 years ago. And that always helped me. And then I would share that with people and they would get it. It would just click. So it's kind of a cool way to look at it. And that's exactly what you just described.
It's, I was talking to someone the other day, and I'm passionate about this because we were not designed to live as individuals. And when people figure this one out, they're going to figure out that their happiness stems from the happiness of everyone around us. And I figured this out. So I was talking to somebody and he asked me, why are you this passionate about this? And I said, if you were sitting watching two people at war, one has no weapons and the other one has a lot of weapons. But the one with no weapons is terrifying the other person that has a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
And by doing this, he or she is distracting them so that they don't notice their weapons.
Yeah.
But the moment that person notices his weapons, your opponent is done. And this is what's happening to humanity today. Everything around us is being done to distract us from our powers.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
so
moment we're brave enough to just calm down for a few minutes, do the steps I've outlined in the book, you're going to feel miracles happening and you will move the world.
Yeah. That is
Wow.
so cool. And Jesus told us that's the way it worked too. Yeah, through his teachings. So you talked about being connected, and so what came to my mind was, how important is it for community, to be part of a community, because today, and I'll just go this far, is in today's world, our kids are connecting with other people via a screen, and it's not really false. And I was really curious what your thoughts and ideas about being part of that community versus a real community.
I think any community that can happen is important. If you don't have the luxury of having a face-to-face community, then a Zoom community is fine. And no community is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because although you and I can't see ourselves physically, but I can hear your voice. I can see your eyes through Zoom. And so I'm able to connect. What's really key with the community connection is that you need to be well connected and strong before you connect with others. Otherwise, you are going to contaminate people with your virus.
Be false. That's what you're talking about, right? You're just being a false object that portrays whatever it is that you want to be false about, I guess is what you'd say.
and if you can't add value to the community, then don't connect.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting.
Well, that brings up a thought that I had too, is as you're talking about being and having present awareness, I think that's one of the terms you use in your book, during those most challenging times, and we can control our emotions, and we can control the perspective that we have of this particular situation. However, I want to ask you, Nahla, is it possible that there's certain things that are ingrained in us, and that as you yourself have become a manager and you've been responsible for employees, do you find that even though you are able to master some of those things at the time, that sometimes old habits come back and it's hard sometimes to resist treating people a certain way because it's still part of the way you were treated? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I love that question because I wanted to talk about that and I didn't know how to get there. So thank you. See, the universe just guided you in that direction. So there's a lot of authors that have provided evidence that 95% of our behavior is triggered by our subconscious, and only 5% is triggered by our consciousness. That means exactly what you just said. There's a program in our subconscious that gets turned on and we're no longer aware of our behavior. However, when we say calm your thoughts, that's just the first step. Calming your thoughts is going to lead you to become aware of your thoughts, aware of yourself, aware of your behavior. And you will be powerful from what perspective? If I am aware of my thoughts and I see myself becoming rude when I see a specific human being, I'm not going to simply flow with this programming. I'm going to stop and I'm going to wonder, why am I being rude? And the moment I ask myself why, I've just stopped the subconscious programming. And there are tools and techniques when you overcome all this. I love the way Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. And he teaches people how to rewire their brains. So he teaches people how to erase the old programming, get past it, and instill new positive programming. And that's really important. So I'm doing a well-being program currently. I'm implementing the second, this is the second time around I implemented. And this is exactly what I am teaching the participants. First, become aware. When you are aware, you took control of what happens in your thoughts. You know that this is programming and you stop. We go so far. And again, I refer to Dr. Joe Dispenza because I'm so grateful for his work, because he provided scientific evidence for what goes on in the mind. And so he also teaches how you need to define the main belief system that triggers a negative emotion. And once you define it, overriding it with a new positive belief becomes easy. So the challenge is in defining it. You need your thoughts to define it. You need to be aware. You need to be living the present moment to define it. And all of these things are tools to help us really ignite our power. And you would be shocked at how easily this can be achieved.
I was shocked. I spent 45 years of my life living in a reactive mode, Nahla, and I can tell you, I knew exactly where I was and exactly what I was doing when I came to the realization, and this is very powerful, it's empowering. When I came to the realization that I could choose my thoughts. I remember it as vivid as I remembered just a couple of minutes ago. And it was like this, it was amazing. I can't even begin to describe that feeling that occurred in me and in my mind when I turned those off. It was, so I guess my point is that's a very powerful, very empowering process that everybody can do.
Absolutely. those are functionalities that are innate to us. But because we're not using them,
They're switched off.
They're switched off. It's time to switch them back on. You know, when I see something negative, you know, my emotion, I see you and you're not scaring me. Negative energies cannot sustain their existence too long. Their only chance of sustaining themselves is by getting into your head.
Yeah.
It's the only way they can live. So if you can just hold on when you see something negative, when you see something scary, just calm down, don't react. You will be able to overcome any negative situation you face.
That's a challenge for me. That's the area where I have the hardest time changing my mindset, is when I start to fear or worry about something. And it's hard to get, because it's like an emotion that's coming from my heart. And I have to try to quiet not only my mind, but physically breathe differently to change that. And that's, something that Dr. Dispenza does as well, is that part of his teaching is to get us completely in alignment with our vibrations, right? And that he actually preaches that we could heal illnesses in our body when we bring everything into vibrational alignment, right? So it is, I think you're right, Nahla, that we have so much more power than that we even acknowledge or understand. And the world, I think you said in our pre-show, is starting to wake up. It's time to wake up.
Totally.
And for people to start realizing that, we've lived through this pandemic so long, it's almost become normal. People are walking around the streets everywhere with masks. I don't know what it's like in Lebanon, but we're pretty strict here in the state of Washington, USA. And I think, gosh, I'm getting really tired of this. When is this going to end? And I think the only way it's going to end is when people themselves get over the fear and they realize this is not happiness. This is not bringing me happiness to live in this fear and worry all the time. And I need to just move forward with a positive life. And I think that's when the pandemic is going to end. It's not going to be because of a vaccine. It's going to be because people's minds are going to change, right?
I agree. Actually, in Lebanon, the will for life and for enjoyment of life is far greater than the fear of the illness. And so you see it, within the people you see how they're living. So I totally agree with you. I want to say something, Jackie, that I believe is really important. It's much harder to clean up the negativity after you've allowed it in than to prevent it from going in. And so in my book, my real purpose is to help people be fit emotionally, so that they don't allow these things in, because it's much more difficult to clean it up after you've allowed it in. It's just like your house. It's easier for you to keep the door closed, be very selective of who comes into your house, than to allow an army of corrupt people into your house and then try to kick them out. It's exactly the same.
Right.
Be selective. Yeah. Practice a lifestyle that keeps your thoughts in control. This way, nothing will go in.
But we are human. We need to acknowledge that we are human, and those things are going to sneak in. But Nahla, maybe we could preface with the thought that it is a practice, right?
Totally.
It is, and the more that we practice, the easier, just like riding a bicycle, the easier it gets, and the more natural it becomes.
And you know what, I want to say something here. I go through times when I feel negativity creeping up. I'm a human being, all of us do. However, if you practice a certain lifestyle, your recovery is much faster. So you're able to kick it out much quicker. It doesn't bring you down. It doesn't take you into depression for months and months, So yes, we will be tested every minute of the day, but we have to,
have
again,
faith.
it's like
is it faith? Is it faith, Nahla? Is that what it is? Is it faith?
Well, I have to tell you, one key element that gave me strength is my belief that there is a higher power watching out for me, energizing me, caring for me, and watching how I will experience life and how I will behave.
Yep.
In my mind, this notion, it gave me so much power. I loved God so much that I always wanted to be worthy. I wanted to show that no matter how hard things got, my faith, my belief in this power helped me, gave me strength. Yeah. But in my book, I stayed away from faith because the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to separate people. People have different ways of believing in their God, and this is not where I want to go.
Yeah.
So whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, use this power to energize you, to give you the strength to go on.
And certainly, Nahla, even and despite the challenges that you've had in life, you had certain dreams when you were young. You kept an eye on those dreams, and they didn't come true exactly the way you dreamed them, but probably better, right? And so you have experienced all of the probably biggest challenges that life has to offer, and yet it's been a happy ending for you. Tell us a little bit more about your happy ending.
And you know what? I think it was a lot of happy endings, because with every challenging event, there was a happy ending. So it's not one happy ending at the end. There's a happy ending in every episode, as you will see in my book. Every little story ended very positively. I think dreaming is one of our innate functionalities. We must dream. We are here to dream. We need to dream. So in my case, all my life, every night when I went to bed, I went to sleep dreaming of something beautiful. And this apply. I mean, even my husband, I started dreaming of marrying my husband when I was 6 years old. And I had no idea what marrying someone would be, but I dreamed of being loved by this person. And dreaming materializes because achieving your dreams start with having a dream. So I really encourage this, and dreaming is really therapeutic as you're going through challenges, as you're going through pain, as you're going through suffering. It really helps you heal and wake up the next day with the energy to go through the day.
And you met your husband when you were quite young, right? And then,
well, my husband, my husband's family and my family were best friends before I was born, and so yes, we knew them ever since I was a child. But then we traveled to Canada when I was 8 years old. But still, the energy of this guy stayed in my heart. And that was a beautiful ending because I'm married to him and we have 2 boys. So,
and he was dreaming of you as well, right?
Thank God. I don't know what I would have done. Thank God.
You know, there's something, Jackie teaches it to little kids, and it's something you talk about in your book, but maybe you can carry on with it a little bit more, and that is finding and expressing our voice. How important is that, and what are your thoughts and ideas behind that?
I think everything we suppress will end up causing us pain or suffering or illness as we get older. Expressing ourselves is something truly important. And I think what happens is, as we raise our kids, we love them so much and we want to protect them so much. And we have this belief that we know what's good for them, which in my opinion is very damaging, and it's definitely the wrong belief for me, at least. And so if your child wants to do something, you suppress them because you know that it won't work, or you know it's not good for them, or you know that it might put them at risk. And the more you suppress, the more you will have rebellion. Yeah. I think rebellion is the result of suppression. And I'm not saying it's easy to allow, and I'm not suggesting allow kids to do whatever they want and put themselves at risk. Not at all. I'm saying we have to choose a different approach. And my son actually said that beautifully when he was 10 years old. I was asking him to do something, and he looked at me and he goes, Mom, I don't take orders well.
Here's the true heart of it.
Nice.
And when he said that, I thought, why am I telling him what to do? Why can't I talk to him in a different way? And actually, a lot of my own evolution was triggered by my kids. And since then, I don't tell my kids what to do.
Yeah.
And that makes them run to me to ask for my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's very empowering. That's great sage advice right there.
Yeah. So what's it? You're living in Lebanon. You had a somewhat repressive childhood there. So what are things different now?
There's something beautiful about this country. You come into Lebanon and you can find 50 different cultures living in this small piece of land. So although I'm telling you about my conservative family, you will come to Lebanon and you'll go to places where they live as if they are in the US or in Canada. They're quite free. And so it's related to religion, where you've grown. So you have a little bit of everything. Is there suppression in Lebanon? Absolutely. Are there places in Lebanon where women are not allowed to have an education? Absolutely. Is it all over the country? Definitely not. In Beirut, in the city, we have incredible, powerful women leading multiple industries, making a change on the country level. So there's a little bit of everything. There's a lot of work to be done though, because our laws are unfair to women, and there's a lot of people working to change that. So it's a very diversified environment.
Amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. And you're part of that.
I hope so.
Part of the change, making the change there. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are. Some don't even know it.
Yeah.
We are going to remember why we're here. Everybody knows why we're here. We're going to be remembering why we're here, and the universe will tend to drive you to your purpose. You just have to recognize it so that you can enjoy it.
So do you feel right now that you're in the place where you can absolutely make the most impact on the people who listen to your words?
I think my intention is to impact Earth. The beauty of Lebanon is that you can reach Earth, you can reach the globe from here. I hope that I can make an impact in Lebanon, but also I want to touch areas I don't even know, I'm not even aware of. And I can do that. I could do that energetically without being physically present.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, ladies, we only have about 6 minutes left. But there was one topic I listened to some of your other podcasts. There's one thing that just jumped out at me, and we haven't talked about that yet. And that is the importance of spiritual nourishment. Can you talk to us about how important that is, and how does a person do that?
Well, you have a physical body, and we're very well trained how to take care of this body. You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to exercise. We all know how to take care of the physical body. But the physical body is a tool to express our spirit. We have to care for the spirit as well. Let me call it the non-physical. It's thoughts, it's emotions, it's your psychological state of mind. How do you care for that? You follow the steps I outlined in my book. You wake up every morning. You wake up every morning and you don't allow yourself to be woken up by an alarm. Right. You wake up, you ease from the spiritual realm to the physical by allowing yourself to connect before you get out of bed. You learn how to calm your thoughts, whether it's through meditation, through going for a walk. You get in touch with nature. There's a lot of things you can do. And actually the book offers not only the techniques, but it offers an exercise that allows you to build your own program so that you can get into that routine.
What does your morning routine look like, Nahla?
I wake up feeling grateful for so many things. Being able to breathe without pain, because what I went through an illness where I could not breathe without pain. I'm grateful that my husband is right there next to me. I'm grateful for the air. I look out the window. I'm grateful for the trees. I meditate in the morning. I have an hour where I meditate. I focus on my own energy centers. I get up, I go to the gym, I work out, I take care of my physical body, come back, I eat things that are energizing, and then I go to work filled with love and energy and just spread it across the bank.
Nice. Is Dr. Dispenza one of your favorite meditations, or are there other people that you meditate?
I really love Dr. Dispenza for one reason, is that his research validated my life experience. And I'm grateful to him. Because of him, I can talk about this without people thinking I'm a crazy person. So, so there's a lot of other meditations. Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations work really well for me. But I think each one of us has to discover their own routines. This is why I provide options in the book.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. Oh my goodness, we are just about out of time. Is there a parting thought? Is there a, something I always like to ask my guests, and I'll just change the subject really quick, but is there a confirmation or a acknowledgement from somebody about them working with you and the power that they felt, or the change that occurred in them because of working with you, that stands out to you? Is there an example that you could give us? You don't have to name names. We just want to know what your work does.
I had one person in the group that I'm working with right now who raised her hand, and she said, "This is the first week I wake up without migraines." So yes, there's a lot more powerful things that, but I mean, this person really touched me because she was referring to physical pain.
Right.
Right.
And
which is hard. It's hard to get through self-talk when you're actually in pain, right?
Exactly.
And so to be able to overcome that is huge.
And now she looks at the pain as her slave. She's no longer the victim of that pain, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something really, really quick, if you don't mind.
Sure. We have 3 minutes. You go, girl.
We accept the fact that for people to wake up and get enlightened, they have to go through difficult situations. I'm using my book to say, don't suffer.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Prevent suffering. Learn how to get fit in the non-physical to keep your physical healthy. There's no need to suffer to wake up. And I hope that people would benefit from this.
That's something that I've always pondered. I made 3 trips to inpatient treatment for alcoholism, and it wasn't until the 3rd trip that I really started to get it. And then I always thought about that, and all of that. Does it really take great desperation for a person to get clicked in or get connected? And it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. I think it's people like you and I and Jackie that have had that experience of gigantic pieces of roadway thrown at you until you get it, right? That now gives us the power to share it with others and to tell them it does not take for you to be on your knees for you to get it.
Absolutely. Don't wait to get sick. Do it before. Prevent illness.
Yeah.
And prevent suffering.
And your book can be found at Amazon and your website. What is your website? You can find the link at lifemasteryradio.com or .net, but what is that website?
It's www.nahlakhaddage.com.
And you can find that on lifemasteryradio.net or in Jackie's newsletter.
Yeah, we'll have it there.
It will come out. So go to lifemasteryradio.net or .com, sign up for the newsletter, and we'll send you the link. You can get it right there. That's about all we have time for. We have just a little time. Jackie, any takeaways? Was this a great show? I really enjoyed it.
It was a great show. And
we got to have Nahla back. We got to have Nahla
as
back.
someone who teaches children how to find their voice and deliver it powerfully, whatever their unique message is, I appreciate that you've done the same thing. And as I read the story about you as a child, I can see so much of your life in the life of my students. And so I appreciate your speaking out. I really
Thank
do.
you.
That's
Thank you so
very
much
cool.
for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Oh, we want you back. So when that book comes out, you're coming back on Life Mastery because there's so much more we could talk about. Did you have fun
Thank you.
today, Nahla?
I loved it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And thank you for showing up as you from halfway around the world. Pretty cool. We live in a pretty cool world these days. Lastly, please go to Life Mastery Radio, check out Nahla's website, go to Amazon, check out her book. It will empower you. It will give you the tools and it will help you formulate your own thoughts and ideas on how you should master your life. Lastly, please, please, please make it a great day because, and this is true, it's all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.